choice in the Columbus area. And we'll see if he can keep it going here. I'm sure these players will probably run into each other, both around the Midwest, Detroit and the Ohio area. A classic rivalry. Sansep Citadel is where Kenney is going to start. Haven't seen very many of those this weekend.
No, very, very few. Kenney with 3 copies in his list.
Have been seeing a little bit of this card here, the McKinney Slide Runner, and I've been impressed so far.
It's a very solid body and synergizes well with these mana bases that are playing a bunch of fetch lands. Quality threat.
Ooh, getting free. I like it. Get in there.
He's unable to be able to block next turn, so you might as well get your point in.
The Beast Collar Savant's going to come into the red zone. A new one, excuse me. I'm curious to see how good that card's going to be.
I think it's going to have a good history here in Standard.
Yeah.
It's going to show up in a variety of decks. Mana Acceleration now, I think that Wizards is going to be a little bit more conservative than they have been in the past. And the mana fixing is going to be valuable as well. And it's an ally, so if an ally deck ever pops up.
It's not carry added. Nothing really is, but it's a heck of a card nonetheless. See a little landfall action here. Cinderglade getting searched up. Now here's Chandra, actually.
Ooh. Could have a big turn next turn.
We got a pretty good board here for Brian. He's going to attack for quite a bit of damage, too.
Yeah, this right here is worth 4 points. And Chandra as a turn 3 play is very nice because it implies that Brian will be able to flip it pretty easily.
There's a Wooded Foothills. Kenney with only 1 basic at this point, so searching for Battlelands may not be attractive just yet for Michael. There's a basic forest, however.
Yeah, and he does not have a mountain in the list.
Okay. Well, he is. It's weird because like he is Abzan aggro, but he's got some weird splashes going on.
Yeah, there's a small argument because you have things like Skyrider Elf and Woodland Wanderer. I can see on the balance it not being worth it, though.
There's Anafenza. Now, DeMars does have some pump spells in hand. He's got to become immense and a Titan Strength. We have not seen kind of the hyper combo finish from his deck just yet. I imagine it's happened for him at least a couple of times over 12 rounds of Magic.
And because of Trample, the Slide Runner is one of the best creatures to try to go off with, because even if Kenney decides to block with the right mixture of pump spells, DeMars can still kill him.
Yeah.
But Brian's graveyard is a little light right now. So I don't know if Become Immense is really on the table for him just yet.
Yeah, maybe just some chipping away with Chandra.
Well, it looks like he has the tools in hand here. If his priority is do nothing but flip Chandra, he can do that this turn. I don't know if he can make many other inroads on the board here, but that play is available.
He's going to start by pinging for 1. We'll see what comes next. There's Nabbit. Untap, take a look. Swift Spear. Shoot you again.
And this gives opportunity for DeMars here to go wide here. He can flip Chandra with this 3rd trigger, take down the Beast Collar Savant, have a bunch of blockers in play, and a Chandra threatening to do stuff.
And now Chandra Roaring Flame has shown up. And that starts with 4 counters. So you see Kenny's going to take a look at Chandra Roaring Flame, and we're going to do the exact same because we don't get to see this card turned over very often.
No, this is a very solid card here for DeMars on this board because he can just take care of the Beast Collar Savant right now if he wants to. It looks like he's just going to go upstairs.
A bit of a burnout strategy. I could have ticked down Chandra to take care of Beast Collar Savant, but clearly he's not too concerned with that mana accelerant.
I think that DeMars' strategy here might just be to say, all right, I'm going to shoot you again, and then I'm going to give you an emblem. And I don't think you can break through this board.
Also, DeMars does have a copy of Tarkus Command in hand, so it's pretty attractive to maybe...
Exactly, just get him in range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kenney is in a difficult spot now. Got man defense out there, which is a great blocker against DeMars deck, no question.
Yeah, but DeMars is trying to make the game about something else.
Yeah. These colors looks like it's tapping for mana. Here's 5 of it. So there's Skyrider Elf.
Achievement unlocked.
Yeah.
The full amount.
That's a first. First time we've seen it, and pretty impressive.
Unfortunately, I think he's just dead to Titan Strength plus a target's command.
I think that you were right.
Still cool. I mean, I'm glad that we got to see it.
Yeah. Feels very much like a Skyreach Manta.
Sweet design.
Yeah. An Alpha Warrior and an ally. For you tribal fans out there. Flying is something that we know is a weakness for a lot of decks in this format too. So being in the sky is actually a pretty good place to be.
It's a bunch of good deals.
Its flexibility is really nice too. 4 mana 4/4, 3 mana 3/3.
Also an ally.
Yeah. DeMars is trying to figure out, is there a way for me to get the job done this turn? I think the answer is yes. Though again, Become Immense, not really going to be turned on at this point, but Target's Command plus Titan Strength may be enough to get the job done. DeMars certainly surveying the position. You know, the situation here, I think, is if the Slide Runner goes unblocked, it's not lethal.
Well, he gets 2.
Oh, there's a Chandra activation.
Yeah, he still activates Chandra.
Yeah.
I think this is, maybe DeMars is just trying to figure out a way, is there a way for me to kill him without showing Titan Strength?
Sure. There's Titan Strength. That's good for 4 damage. Prowess is 1, plus 3. Gets you to 4. Now here's a Tarkus Command.
And that's another 5 points.
Yeah, that's going to do it. So Brian DeMars is going to win game number 1 here over Michael Kenney. Atarka Red up a game here over Obzon Aggro with some slight splashes going on. Let's take a look at the sideboard. We will start with Kenney and his 15 cards.
He's got 3 copies of Duress, 3 Ration Cleric, 2 Painful Truth, 2 copies of Radiant Flame, a Sorin Solemn Visitor, an Exert Influence, a Ruinous Path, an Ultimate Soul, an Ultimate Price, and a Reeve Soul. So Ultimate Price, Reeve Soul, excellent cards to bring in here. 3 copies of Duress, 3 copies of Ration Cleric, 2 copies of Radiant Flames. About a perfect sideboard for Kenney for this matchup. He gets to interact early. He's got some sweepers. He's got some life gain. He can attack DeMars' hand, get a Target's Command or the pump spells out of hand. There's a lot to like here in Kenney's sideboard.
4 Hangerback Walker, 2 Thunderbreak Regent, 2 Roast, 3 Arc Lightning, 2 Fire Impulse, and 2 Goblin Heel Cutter here for DeMars.
And we've seen this mixture of cards before come in. I think we're going to see Hangerback Walker, Thunderbreak Regent, Goblin Heel Cutter, and I'd expect Roast to come in. I don't think DeMars necessarily brings it in against every Siege Rhino deck, but seeing Anafenza as well. Beast Collar Savant implies there's all sorts of big creatures floating around the deck. I think Roast is safe for DeMars to bring in.
Well, those are the options there for both players. And I'll shuffle up and get ready here for game number 2. In the meantime, we're going to talk about Grand Prix Atlanta, happening November 13th through the 15th. It's a Battle for Zendikar sealed main event. And also, we're going to celebrate the Commander format.
Exactly. StarCityGames.com/GP Atlanta. Up and running for more information. Hashtag of GP Atlanta available. You can join the conversation right now. Commander Focus, as Cedric mentioned, a lot of the pillars of the Commander community will be there for seminars, for meet and greets. People that you know from the Commander videos from Star City Games. People like Sheldon Minery, MJ Scott. John Avon is a guest of honor. A lot of artists, a lot of people. 3-day event. Should be a lot of fun.
And the American Dream.
Stephen Green.
Stephen Green. A real American. StarCityGames.com/GP Atlanta for more information. Get signed up today. Get that out of the way. And we will see you there November 13th through the 15th. So get ready here for game number 2. DeMars picking up a pretty easy one there. His deck doing what it's supposed to. His deck is looking impressive when we watch it on the camera.
Especially when he's on the play.
Yeah.
It just feels like a lot of people are not prepared for the strategy game 1. The people who do have a game plan, it almost always involves the sideboard. It's 5, 6, 7 high impact cards. But game 1, it's felt like DeMars has had the edge every time we've seen it on camera.
Haven't even seen the kind of hyper combo finish with Become Immense and Teamer Battle Rage yet. Hasn't needed it.
No. And I actually don't know if is Teamer Battle Rage more cute than good. I can buy Titan Strength and Become Immense very easily. Less sold on the Battle Rage. But still, it does give the deck the possibility of a combo finish.
Well, you gotta like options.
Yeah.
So, doesn't seem to be too poor. And I do like the fact that, if that package is not good for a matchup, he's able to sideboard that out, go to the Hangerback Walker package. That's looked to be pretty effective for him in sideboarded games.
4 Hangerback Walker, 2 Thunderbreak Regent, and 2 Goblin Heel Cutter. Those are 8 cards that are easy to bring in against nearly every opponent. So if you ever think that your combo kill, your pump spells are no good, it's not like you're straining to find legitimate cards to bring in. The sideboard's already built with 8 fine Magic cards to bring in no matter what.
I like the options that Brian has available. And for what it's worth, I really like the options that Michael has available too. He's got a really nice sideboard against red decks, and that's not a surprise. I think a lot of people came here looking to beat red decks, and there are plenty of good options available.
And I think Kenney would probably acknowledge that his list is vulnerable to red decks game 1. He can definitely get draws. He's capable of turn 3 Siege Rhino, a turn 3 Woodland Wanderer. He's got draws that can beat mono red, but his mana is a little unstable. Not all those creatures are that big. He doesn't have a lot of removal, and the removal he does have is situational or expensive. So just like Jerry Thompson, who also acknowledged that his matchup against red game 1 is not very good, you look at Kenney's sideboard, a lot of excellent cards to bring in. Ultimate Price, Reef Soul, Radiant Flames, a Ration Cleric, Duress. He can get away from cards like, let's say, Skyrider Elf, a little slow to bring to the table, not very effective blocker. He's got some threats like that he can take out. I think Den Protector is also in this camp. You can look at some cards like Obzon Charm, Obnixilis. He's got some reasonable cards to cut out of the deck, and he becomes a lot faster, a lot quicker to the board, with still enough power to win the game once he has the board locked up.
Yeah, one of the things that he gets to do to his deck, he just gets to trim the fat. Get some really nice cards into his deck. Something that we used to see Jund decks do in previous formats. They would hedge a lot in game number 1, and they'd be able to board out some cards that were poor and board in some real heavy hitters that were really good. I think that's the kind of strategy that Kenney is going to employ here.
And I think for these 4 and 5 color decks that are exploring the limits of the format, exploring the mana bases, I think bringing a lot in your sideboard for the Atarka Red matchup is going to be important, for at least for the first couple weeks.
It's going to be a popular deck.
And a lot of the decks that we're seeing here feel like a pretty big underdog to Atarka Red game 1.
Yeah, I mean, we've just watched DeMars win a lot of games 1 this weekend, right?
Yes.
It wasn't even like this thing where he was really struggling to win game 1. It's been a thing where he has pretty comfortably won game 1.
And it wasn't even like DeMars' draw was that explosive. He didn't have a 1-drop. On Kenney's side of the table, he went turn 2 Beastcaller Savant into turn 3 Anafenza and into turn 4 5/5 Flyer. It's not a shabby draw. He can block pretty early on in that game, especially with DeMars not having a 1-drop, not killing the Beastcaller Savant, and Kenney still got killed pretty early on in the game. In related news, Atarka's Command is a really powerful card.
Yes, it is.
Really powerful.
Yes, it is. No surprise there. Players all set with the shuffling. We'll watch them resolve some mulligans here now, where Kenney will be on the play. So we'll see if he's able to find a better hand. Better facial hair between the two. Who we got?
Call it tie.
It's close.
Yeah.
Both have the kind of, call it college professor look going right now.
Yeah. I can appreciate, I think Kenney's is slightly better groomed, but I can appreciate the 1840s vibe that DeMars is going for. So we'll call it a tie.
Call it a tie?
I call it a tie.
I'm giving facial hair a try right now. It's getting into the later part of the year. I know that's something that you're not capable of.
Well, you saw me on the plane. We took the same vibe from Minneapolis to Indianapolis. I had 2 weeks off of coverage, and so I had not shaved in 2 weeks.
You let yourself go.
It's not a good look.
No, I love you. Facial hair's not for you.
It's not for me.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be for me in the best of circumstances, and certainly the way that it grows in. It's a very 13-year-old sort of growth. So
very patchy.
It's very patchy, very splotchy. So it's just better for me not to go down that road.
Do you ever wish that you could grow facial hair? You ever feel it's unfair that you can't put together a nice beard like our two players have? Have you ever had that want?
I feel like I've done all right. You know, if that's the big cost that I'm paying in life, can't grow facial hair out well, that's okay. I'll be fine.
Let that go?
You can't focus on all the areas where you're deficient. It's just not worth it.
More inspiring words.
What am I going to do about it? What am I going to do about it?
There's got to be something to fix it, right? It's 2015. Rogaine, man. Does that work on facial hair? I have no idea.
I have not asked.
Yeah, I have no clue. Wooded Foothill is going to be sacrificed by Kenney. He's going to fall down to 19. Cinder Glade is where DeMars starts. It does get a little itchy. It's a little, I'm not sure how long I want to do this for. Saw Kenney search up a smoldering marsh. I'll take a draw step here. I want to see some explosive action from Kenney's deck. The Skyrider Elf was pretty impressive, but then he just died, so it wasn't that impressive.
Right. It was impressive that he got to have it fully enabled on turn 4. That's an accomplishment. Did it correlate to winning? No. In fact, he didn't get to untap. But it was a cool moment. And we were all here for it.
Wooded Foothills here from DeMars. Going to tie things up in 19 as he searches for a basic mountain. We'll see what the follow-up is here momentarily. It's going to be a Dragon Fodder, 2 Goblin tokens on the way. Now we'll go over to Kenney, who's going to sacrifice his Wooded Foothills. We'll see what land he wants to search up. He'll go with a forest. Both players looking to get the battle land mana bases online. There's a Plains. Here's an Anafenza. We saw this the previous game.
And because of Anafenza alongside what you would assume would be more large creatures, I think DeMars is probably has roast in his deck for this matchup. Kenney showed the capability of getting some real size on the table very early on.
Yeah, so those 2 roasts certainly do seem like a pretty good option then.
Heel cutters as well.
Yeah. Plenty of good tools for red to go to get by big creatures like Anafenza and Siege Rhino.
And even the red decks of this format can be complicated to play just because when do you play your Abbot?
Yeah.
There's a lot of, all right, well, what are the implications of me flipping over a 1 here? Do I just need to get something on the table? Can I afford to wait for this to be the last card in my hand?
You know, in a situation like this, if I'm DeMars, I'd be a little hesitant to cast Abbot just because I wouldn't want to lose a roast or something like that, you know? But I think he also needs a land at this point. Oh, it looks like he might have a Foothills in hand, so there's a lot to weigh here, actually.
Yeah, these are not easy calls.
He's got 2 Abbots in hand as well. Atarka's Command, Teamer, Battle Rage. Looks like he's going to go with Dragon Fodder to start. So 2 more Goblins. Now he'll sacrifice the Foothills, get a basic mountain. Maybe we'll have something else on the way this turn. We do in Swift Spear. No good attacks to be had. But now we go Kenney's way.
Really good spot for really any of Kenney's sideboard cards. Duress, Russian Cleric, Radiant Flames, all would be very good to have right now.
Prairie Stream was the land. We'll see if he does have one of his sideboard cards this turn. Radiant Flames, as you mentioned, would be a real doozy. Looks like it's just going to be a face-up Den Protector. That's not very exciting. The Kenney Slide Runner the draw. Mars, pretty good looking hand right now.
Well, he wants to get in a spot. He doesn't want to sit here all day developing his board because then he's very vulnerable to any sweeper. So you look at all the cards in his hand, he does have a variety of creatures to work with. He can sit here just putting stuff on the table, waiting to go really wide to get around Kenney's blockers. But he is very vulnerable to Radiant Flames at that point. So he wants to build up a board, but he doesn't want to take all day.
Maybe it's Abbott time. Yep. Take a look at that top card. Oof. Become Immense. A touch awkward.
One of the worst hits. Would have been really nice to draw next turn.
Yeah.
And he can't do anything with it this turn.
DeMars already setting it aside, knowing he's not going to get very far with that. Kenney going to go ultimate price, take care of the Abbott. Now he'll draw. We're going beatdowns. Put a counter there. Can't be blocked, so makes sense. What's the follow-up? A Rhino? Okay.
Yep, I like going on the offensive.
Yeah, I don't want to play this sit-around game and let DeMars get set up.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of that. You might not know everything that's going on in his deck, but you do know that I'm at 21, you're at 8. I got some big creatures out there that I can pressure you with, so no more fooling around. You got to try to kill me now.
I know your deck contains a Tarkus command here, so if I just let you get your board set up, you're eventually going to overrun me.
You're going to do it on my terms, not yours.
And he's set for lethal next turn, even if the Rhino dies.
Yep. I like the turning of the corner. Now DeMars has got to pick up the pace. He's got to find a way. He can do some chump blocking if he wants to, but
the problem is that he kind of needs to do two things. He needs to be pressuring Kenney a little bit here, while also leaving enough back to not die in this turn's attack or next turn's attack. It's asking a lot.
it's a juggle of the resources now, and not a lot of life to work with. Now he does have Become Immense and Teamer Battle Rage in hand. So this does start to get a little interesting.
So if he can get some traction this turn, get a couple points of damage, or get the Rhino off the table, he may be able to set up next turn a Become Immense Teamer Battle Rage kill.
It's almost frustrating how difficult the turn is for DeMars. He's got so many different pathways he can go down. Looks like after all this,
Okay.
yeah, just old Swifty.
We found it.
With Swift Spear and Battle Rage, you can deal 18. 18's not 21. All right, there's Become Immense. Here's Teamer Battle Rage. So he does deal 18. He's got enough blackers back on defense. You know, some blocking of the Rhino with some goblins and chump blocking and Offensa. That putting his opponent down to 3 and has a Tarkus command in hand.
Yeah, very good setup here.
Yeah.
And the problem is that you know, DeMars kind of has to do it like this because you might say, well, he's at 3 and he's got 4 creatures back. Why didn't he attack with everything? Because if Kenney blocks, DeMars dies on the way back.
Yep.
So he needs to make it like where he can get in enough damage to set up a kill for next turn while leave himself enough back on defense where he can not die to the attack.
Because if he attacks with everything, Kenny's going to go block your Monastery Swift Spear.
Exactly.
You know? That's the one that's the most threatening of the bunch. It has the highest damage potential output. So I'm not going to let that through. I'll block that one, let the goblins through, do your worst with that. But now, I don't know if Kenney can actually win this turn.
So if he attacks with everything, he can put the counter on the Den Protector. That's 4 points guaranteed. After that, the best blocks DeMars has, 1 creature on Inoffensive because it doesn't trample everything else on Siege Rhino, which means that DeMars is beating a removal spell this way. He's actually beating several removal spells this way. This is a very well-sequenced game here from DeMars.
I think there's almost no reason. I don't think there's any reason not to triple block.
Yeah, just get, what's most likely to be in Kenney's hand? It's some removal spells. Don't get yourself in a spot where you get blown out by a removal spell and a murderous cut to kill all your blockers. Just keep yourself high.
And I think with the way that Brian has played this game, there's not much you can do about Dromoka's command anyway. So I'm not really trying to play around that at this point.
It's really just, if he can play a Siege Rhino or gain life this turn, if he has Dromoka's command, that's excellent.
Yeah, I've got a Tarkus command, and that's going to do it. So Brian DeMars with a very well-played game here. He's going to win this match here over Michael Kenney, 2-0. Tarka Red moves on to 10-3, and DeMars still in top 8 contention.
Can't ask for much more there if you're Kenney. I mean, didn't draw Radiant Flames, but his draw was very, very good besides. And the combo kill there for DeMars, that's the first time we saw it. Wasn't actually a kill, but was able to deal quite a bit of damage there.
He's not, and I know, this is the third time we watched Brian. That's the first time we've really seen kind of the 1-2 punch with Battle Rage and Become Immense, but Michael Kenney is not the first person to say no blocks on a creature thinking what's the worst that could happen, and the worst is pretty bad.
Yeah.
That was an attack for 18 points of damage.
It just looks so innocent on the surface.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Kenney can win the game by blocking there. He does have a kill over 2 turns regardless.